This is the Filmy McFilm Film Show.
Oh, hi, Dick.
Well, you're his son, and we are reviewing The Room, directed by Tommy Wiseau, written by Tommy Wiseau, starring Tommy Wiseau, and produced by Tommy Wiseau.
Big credits on this film for the old Tommy boy.
This is, in many people's opinion, the best worst movie of all time.
Yeah, so the
How would you describe Tommy Wiseau, the star and director of the movie?
How long we got?
He is a demented retard, but in the best possible sense.
Yeah, he reminds me of, like, the only way to explain it to our listeners who haven't seen it, and I would beg you to go and see this if you haven't after this podcast. He is like a demented, like really bad Severus Snape lookalike from Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah,
and this is what he looks like in real life.
Yeah,
as well.
It's not a costume or anything. This geezer actually goes around doing this. So what's probably meant to be noted about this is considered, as Declan said, possibly the worst film ever made. I think, what's his rating on IMDb? 3.7?
I have no idea, but it was a movie. He funded himself. It was a passion project. He wanted to be a star. He starred it himself, and the movie came out. He actually entered it into the Academy Awards for Best Picture, and he had it run in a movie theatre for 2 weeks, which is the thing you have to do to be eligible for it. Obviously, it didn't win because it's shit, but he also had a billboard in a really expensive location in LA for over 2 years, I think, trying to promote the movie. And the film eventually, it was one of those things where, do you remember like South Park back in the day, where it was just a tape that was getting passed around, and that's how South Park got made, because George Clooney found it and thought it was hilarious. A similar thing where the movie circulated by those means, and it got a cult following, kind of like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where people would show up to screenings and, you know, come dressed as the characters, screaming out the lines as they come along in the movie along with it.
Yeah, like, but what's to be noted about this Tommy Wiseau guy is, obviously, as Declan said, he funded it, passion project, but still to this day, no one knows where he got, like, all the money to do it. No one knows where he was born. Like, no one knows anything about him.
He answers these questions whenever he's asked. He's asked in every interview about it, and he answers in every interview, and his answers are different in every single interview, and they're just ramblings of nothing. Yeah. Like, I think when he was asked, where are you from, he said, I was from Europe originally, but I'm in America now, so I am an American right now. But when people ask me where I'm from, I lived and grew up in New Orleans, so I guess if I pick a country, it's New Orleans these days. Yeah. You're like, what the fuck? Like, he's the most bizarre character. He's one of those things where people, you'll assume in the first 5 minutes, oh, this annoying guy's doing a character or putting on a front or trying to be quirky, but he's definitely on the spectrum or has some sort of mental disorder. He's kind of like he's got no perception of, like, how he comes across.
He's kind of like, see, I compare him to someone like, and this is going to sound outlandish, but a person who is real and is not putting on a front or acting like that, but it's just too hard to believe that they're not. Like, and I'm going to compare him now to Hunter S. Thompson. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, okay. And the reason I'm saying it is, you can't believe, like, everyone's seen interviews with Hunter S. Thompson, that he is actually like that when the cameras are off him. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine Hunter S. Thompson, like, going home being like, hard day at work, like, acting all normal.
Yeah, it's like Ali G takes off his bandana and all that, and he goes home as Sacha Baron Cohen.
Basically like that. Like, it's just so outlandish that anyone can exist like this.
Well, essentially, it's not the money aspect makes it, but in terms of a character, that's the kind of character every area has him. It's like every area has a homeless guy that you kind of know. Yeah. Every area's got that psycho that lingers around in the pubs and freaks everyone out, and he's never in with anyone else. Yeah. And he's, if that creepy guy made a movie. This is what this movie is. And the way, the way you make a movie or do anything or express yourself in any way, like even the way like you might play a video game,
Yeah.
and tell you a bit about someone's personality.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in FIFA, if you pass around the back, you're a scumbag.
Yeah.
And the way this movie pans out, it is such a disturbing insight into how he must perceive the world. Because Tommy Wiseau now tries to claim that it was always intent to be a comedy.
No.
But it's not. It was supposed to be a really serious drama. And that's the thing I had to remember as I was watching it, because I've seen it a lot of times now, and it doesn't have the shock value of how weird it is, because I know it's coming. But when I was watching it today, I had to remind myself a couple of times, these people were trying to make a really good film. Like, he thought he was writing like a dramatic masterpiece.
Yeah. It's so weird because I've got kind of like a funny story from my weekend about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like, you're saying about him. It's kind of like, what's that film where you say his name 3 times in the mirror and he shall appear? Candyman. It's a bit like that, like Tommy Wiseau. And I was out in
what do you mean?
Oh, well, I'm going to explain it now properly. I was out in a pub on Saturday for someone's 30th, the Woodman. It's kind of like they've changed it all around to be basically like the bars at the back, and it's 2 different areas, and the front was hired out. And then all of a sudden, someone I didn't know like asked me, "Oh, like, where are you from? Like, how do you know this person whose birthday is?" I was like, "Oh, I'm from Palmer's Green." And then straight away, like Tommy Wiseau, like the characters. "Oh, do you know Gary Price?" He was like the local kind of like character.
Local Tommy Wiseau.
And then like we was talking about it, got back inside, and then someone turned around to me and was like, "I kid you not, Gary Price is in the other bar."
Really?
And
yeah.
I was like, fucking hell. And this guy Gary Price, like, he's always called me Barry for like years. Like,
yeah, he'd like, give us a pound, Barry.
I have to go down there, and he's like, "Barry!" Like, you're right. And I was like, how did that happen? It kind of like sums up.
But he obviously remembered it at one point as Barry, but no matter how many times you tell him it's not Barry, he never remembers that.
It's like Only Fools and Horses, where like
Gary.
He always goes up to Rodney and is like, "All right, Dave," and he tells him as many times as he wants, it's Rodney. So it's kind of like reminded me of like Tommy Wiseau, like just a guy like going around his business. But if you saw him in like real life, you'd be like, essentially, what a character.
There's so many weird, creepy things about this movie that just give such a weird insight into his little brain.
Yeah.
Like the whole subplot where there's this, what is clearly a 25-year-old playing, I guess, what is he, a 15-year-old supposed to be? Who is this orphan boy who's Tommy Wiseau's character Johnny has adopted, sort of, essentially, and is paying for him to live in the same building and study so he can go to school. And he just comes in and out of their flat, and he clearly, in the first scene we're introduced to him, he comes in and this 15-year-old's in their house, Johnny and his girlfriend, and they're laughing, and then they just announce to Johnny, "Oh, we're going to go fuck upstairs." So, and they don't even close the door as well. The front door of the house is open. This little 15-year-old's in their living room. They go upstairs to fuck. Johnny comes up and disturbs them while they're starting to fuck, and openly says, "Oh, I just like watching you guys."
Yeah, and
everyone's just giggling.
And then Tommy Wiseau's character turns around, and this is exact words. We're not putting it down for the podcast. He goes, "Well, what's the little kid's Johnny?" "Well, Johnny."
No. Denny.
"Well, Denny, 2's a good number, but 3's a crowd." And I'm like, oh god, where's this film going?
It's so strange.
Like, literally. And like, do you remember? It kind of gave me vibes of like, remember that like American sitcom Sister? No.
Yeah.
No.
Go home, Roger.
No. Clarissa, I think.
No, it was Sister with Roger.
Yeah, he'd always like climb up to the bedroom window with a ladder, and it'd be like, "Oh, go home, Roger."
Yeah.
It's kind of like this, where Denny will be carrying like every other scene that Denny's in, he's always carrying an American football. He's like, "Do you want to play football?" And
his haircut is disgusting.
He's got like curtains.
I'm pretty sure he wears dungarees at one point. Like, he's such a horrible little troll.
But I suppose we have to kind of sum up the hypnosis to this.
No, you don't. There's no fucking.
There's no hypnosis.
Basically, it's this is. All right, I'll do my best to sum up. Let's do that. Okay, so Tommy Wiseau is a banker. His girlfriend is in the
Yeah.
computer business, is the only way she ever described it. And his best friend, Mark, I don't know what he does, but he's some sort of LA hotshot as well.
Yeah.
They're all friends and all live in the same... Everyone in this movie lives in the same building.
Yeah.
And they basically are only ever in the room. Why is it called The Room as well, by the way?
Well, not to be confused by that other film, The
Room.
which I accidentally watched.
Which is shit as well. I hate
This
it.
is not what I was looking for.
So they all live in an apartment building, and it's basically a love triangle develops, as well as between Mark, Johnny, and the girlfriend, Lisa. And there's also the subplot of the kid that doesn't really ever go anywhere,
Yeah.
but is the best part of the movie.
Yeah, he's...
So Denny gets into trouble with a gangster, who, by the way, what's his name? John R. or something.
Yeah.
John R. the gangster, who I guess he owed money to. I don't know if he bought drugs or he was bought drugs to sell drugs. They never clarify it. But John R. shows up and he puts his gun to his head. And he's saying, "Where's my fucking money?" Wasn't he the best actor by far?
Yeah,
his delivery was actually decent.
Yeah, he was. But, like, yeah, there's literally no plot. And
So he shows that he's demanding his money. And one of the other main locations of the movie is a rooftop of the building that everyone just comes out to, which was filmed with a green screen. But, so for some reason as well. So, what's his name? The little kid, Denny, he's up on the roof. John R. shows up. Why is he on the roof? But he's just there. He's looking for fucking Denny. Puts a gun to his head. He's threatening him. Then Mark and Johnny show up. And they tackle him to the ground. And they fucking just... then he just disappears. Like, I guess he gets arrested.
Yeah.
He's just gone from the movie, the gangster character, for the rest of it. And the overacting is so brilliant with Lisa and the mother, where she's like crying hysterically saying, "What kind of drugs? What kind of money?"
Yeah. What kind of drugs, Danny?
No, what kind of money is one of the funniest lines of dialogue in any... Like, what does that mean?
What's his name? The guy with a gun?
John R. Is it John R?
How did he... There's just...
How did he what?
I just can't even explain this film. There's just so many questions. About
I'm struggling to like get a coherent fucking explanation going because it is so confusing.
The drug dealer just turns up to the roof where Denny's again got a football and there's no one else there. So Denny's just gone up to the roof to... I assume... We can't throw the football anywhere because he's on the roof.
He's just chilling. Everyone's just always sitting on the roof or sort of like looking out into the distance, thinking about life.
Yeah. So he goes, how does he even get in number one? Like, literally, like, it's just so far-fetched and just so strange. Like.
But yeah, one of the weirdest and most jarring things about this movie is just how the tone shifts all the time. And you can see he's trying to use like the movie techniques. The obvious ones of... You know, if something dramatic's happening, use dramatic music, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't make any... Nothing ever is... There's no thread. Like Lisa, just sentence to sentence, changes tone and character and motivations and their opinions about other characters changes. And sometimes she'll be having a light-hearted conversation and intense music will be playing in the background.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing adds up.
I'll give a perfect example of that. Because I think with this film, you have to kind of talk about it scene by scene.
Yeah, you do.
So there's one scene where she's with her mum, and then the mum's like, "But you should," because Tommy Wiseau's character, I forgot his name. He's Johnny, sorry.
Johnny.
He's scheduled to get married to Lisa in a week. That's another subplot. So in between the week that we don't know how long they've been going out, but the start of the film, they're obviously very much in love.
No, it was... Don't you remember? He says... that's one of the scenes. He goes... His psychiatrist friend is like, how did you meet Lisa? You've never told us that before, which is nothing you'd ever say in the middle of a conversation. And Johnny goes, "Oh, it's actually a very interesting story. We met and I saw her and I said, 'You're so pretty,' so I walked up to her and we talked and then we went for dinner."
Yeah.
How's that? And he goes, "How's that interesting?" He goes, "Well, she paid for it."
Yeah.
Like the conversations about women in this movie as well is so strange. At one point, Mark, they're talking because that's all the conversations are just about women, or all the conversations are about men. If it's the two women chatting, and at one point, Mark just goes, "I think women are just stupid, or they're evil."
Yeah, but Lisa's sitting there with her mum, And her mum's like, an older lady, obviously it's the mum. She's like, you should tell Johnny if you don't love him, because you're getting married in a week. And then Lisa's motivation for like starting to shag Mark is because he didn't get a promotion. So he's not a good man anymore because he didn't get the promotion in the job. And this isn't even the end of it. All of a sudden, the mum just goes, and I'm dying.
Yeah. she just goes, the results are in, I have cancer. And then she goes, oh, I'm sorry. And then they just move on. Like. And it's not, is it, what, you're telling your daughter now that you definitely have cancer. Like, this hasn't, like, didn't immediately tell her, or...
And all of a sudden...
Didn't immediately tell her when you saw her.
You're right about the music, because, like, she's having an affair, and then all of a sudden the mum's dropped that she's dying. And the music's like... Dun, 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 and you're like, oh, fucking hell. What is going on in this? Look.
And just the delivery of the dialogue. Like, the dialogue's weird, but the delivery of it is what makes it so strange. Like the flower shop scene where he goes in.
That.
And the woman's...
Don't talk about that scene. That is the weirdest.
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't recognise you. You're my favourite customer. Like, everything's just said in... There's no cadence or tone change to anything.
Yeah. Like
it's like, you know, when you're on customer service waiting and there's, like, the robot words have just... They jumble them together because they've recorded, like, every word. And it's like, after the beep, please... That's like, what they sound like.
So the flower shop is one of the most actual surreal scenes, and it's one of the only ones that are outside the room / the green screen roof.
Yeah.
We'll get onto locations later, but anyway, he goes in and goes, oh, hi, and they're like, she gets the flowers, she looks him directly in the fucking face, and then she gets the flowers and reads it, Johnny. And then looks at him directly in the face and goes, Johnny, I didn't recognise you.
No, the thing is, he takes his sunglasses off. And then suddenly, like, I thought you were another weird vampire-looking fucking cunt walking about.
He's just walking around in like a waistcoat with like long black hair and sunglasses.
He is such a ghoul, man. He's so like, gross looking.
I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a character.
Do you know I realised as well, part of the reason why he's so odd looking, like, he doesn't look... He's not like he's got huge ears or like fucking teeth falling out. Yeah. But he's like... There's something just immediately like... Ugh, about him. And I realise he's got that weird look where... You know when you can tell an old man should have grey hair but they're dyeing it?
Yeah.
And something about it doesn't go together, but you can't put your finger on what it is.
That's another thing to talk about Tommy Wiseau. It's one of the unknown facts about him. No one knows his age and he will never reveal
No one knows his age, where he's
nationality,
from... how he made his money...
Yeah, and we'll get into it a bit later because obviously there's the spin-off Disaster Arts film, and obviously it's made by like James Franco, who I assume out of anyone in the world must have got the most information on how the film was made and about him. But it goes into that about it, and like the funniest thing I think about in that film, basically, the filmmakers go to the bank and like tries to cash a check, and then it's Seth Rogen, and then it actually goes through, and he's like, oh, I'm surprised it's come through. The banker goes, do you know this guy? And he goes, yeah, I'm making a film for him. And he goes, this account is like just a bottomless pit of money. Like he must have had millions upon millions in there.
From what?
Nobody knows.
Like the only things he's ever let slip. And when I say let slip, like it's definitely not real facts. It's just weird shit. He said it's like flipping real estate, and the other one was selling jeans.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Because in the disaster,
you can make a lot of money doing that.
In the Disaster Arts, obviously, James Franco's younger brother says he turns round to him and goes, "Oh, do you want to move to LA?" And he was like, "Where will I live?" And he's like, I've got an apartment there. Like he must have had houses. I just find it just so weird. Like, how did he get all this dosh and dough? Like,
it was Chris R, by the way.
Oh, Chris R. Sort of back to the location. So it's mainly set. It's just so unbelievable. It's mainly set in the room, but when they go to the roof, as you said earlier, it's green screened, and it's like.
At great expense, like it wasn't easier.
At great expense, like surely you could have just found a roof.
Yeah. If you're supposed to be on the Avatar planet, then fair enough.
Yeah.
You might need to green screen the background, but this is just an LA roof.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
And like they talk about in the disaster artist, which I keep going back to, because no one knows anything. We have to get our facts from the disaster artist, because they ask him in it. Seth Rogen's like the co-director or the cinematographer, because obviously he wants to direct everything. He's like, twice in it he goes, hang on, this alley is exactly the same as the alley that's just outside, and there's a roof like right there. And he just turns around and goes, this is proper Hollywood movie, man.
Well, do you know what's it? Because I watched about half an hour of a behind the scenes, and it wasn't like a post look out, the room is this phenomenon, it's the shittest movie ever made sort of documentary behind the scenes. I mean, it's what they must have shot at the time, thinking, oh, when it's a big hit, this will be on the DVD as the bonus features.
Yeah.
And I was shocked by how professional, just in terms of the equipment and the setup of it, and everyone buzzing around. Like, I was like, this really was a movie, like a well-funded movie with these, you know. He literally had two different types of cameras. He had video and original film running at the same time with this custom-made rig that stuck both the cameras together.
Really?
And it was just like this crazy... It really looked professional. And the interesting thing as well is I was trying to look at the faces of the actors and the crew when in between takes Tommy Wiseau was trying to direct him or talk about stuff. And most of them seemed like they were enjoying it. Like, they seemed like they didn't know just how bad the movie was going to be. Maybe, I know at the end of the production there were stories of people being like, this is going to be a disaster, like Tommy Wiseau's out of his mind to work with. But it felt like, I don't know, like they liked it. Like, I'm pretty sure the actress playing his girlfriend, Lisa, I'm pretty sure she hadn't been in a lot of stuff. No. And I know I saw the actress who plays her mother, saying she'd never been in any production before. So a lot of them probably was their first experience of any film set. So I don't think you would know it was going to be as bad as it was. I think, like, famously, the big gangster, I can't remember his name, from Goodfellas, Paulie.
Oh, Paulie, yeah.
The actor that played him said he thought he wanted to walk out of the movie halfway through because he thought, this is going to ruin my career. This is the most boring piece of shit I've ever done. And it wasn't until he saw the final cut he was like, shit, this is the best movie I've ever made. Yeah. So you don't know, like, necessarily when something's going to be... A lot, like, actors, when terrible movies come out and people say, why'd you do it? He was like, we obviously didn't try and make a bad movie. You don't know until you do it. So I actually got the feeling they didn't have any idea how much of a hunk of shit this was going to be.
But I think another, I'm going to say fact, that's supposed to be a fact, is he walked in to get the equipment, and then it was like a rental, and they were like, right, so you rent it for this? He was like, not rent, buy. I'm just buying. And they were like, no, like, for you to buy them to make one film, it makes no sense. It's like, I don't care. So that just that just gives you the amount of money that he had. Like, it's just unfeasible. Like, even to rent it, like 2 cameras like that. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just really strange. But back to the actual film. So, like, you've kind of like summed up actually Declan the plot the best you could. I think like that is the best you can.
There's no plot to describe. And there is a synopsis where you can just say it's a love triangle. That's basically it. Yeah. But if you try to describe like the beat by beat, it is just so uncomfortably strange and and just like at certain points it does get unbearable how much they repeat the same shit. Yeah, they had these same conversations on repeat for so long in slightly different ways. Yeah, and
I just feel Declan, like, I think they try to like get in a lot of like Hollywood cliches for that time, like, because for no reason, he's just failed at getting a promotion, so they decide to get really drunk and like tie ties around their head and shit like that.
Well, this is the thing actually we were talking about before we went on that detour, was the shifts in tone. Like Lisa, from scene to scene, she'll be bitch. She doesn't love Jonathan anymore, Johnny. But in one scene she'd be like, I do love Johnny, but I'm bored and I just don't know what to do. But he is a good man. And then in the next scene, she'll be this film noir femme fatale character where she's laughing and fuck Johnny and I'm going to do what I want. And then she's completely different the next scene. And there's just no... Like, you never know what's going on. You have no clue, like, what is going to happen. But not in a good way.
I mean, like, I was thinking about this before we done this podcast. I'm, like, thinking... How do we tie this together for our listeners? It's actually impossible for like someone who hasn't.
It is. You just got to talk about the funny moments.
Like, in one scene, they get really drunk, and basically what happens is Lisa's got like she pulls a huge glass of whiskey, by the way. Then all of a sudden gets vodka and pours it into the whiskey, and then Johnny's like, like, just as simple as this, you know I don't drink, Lisa.
And he goes, Lisa, you know I can't drink. And then she goes, it's good for you. Because she's in evil mode where, in this particular scene, she's evil and she's just trying to get him. I guess he's a former alcoholic and she just gets him to start drinking again.
No one knows.
For no reason. She's just turned into a bitch.
But then it turns out later that Lisa does use that because later on, she just like, from that.
Yeah, she starts saying...
She's just like, Johnny's such a scumbag. He got drunk last night and hit me. And everyone's like, he hit you.
The best thing about that is when she tells the mum, she says, Johnny was drinking last night and he hit me. And the mum goes, Johnny doesn't drink.
Yeah.
She doesn't go like, what, he hit you? My daughter, like what?
So to sum up Johnny from these scenes, he's a
bumbling retard.
He's an Eastern European alcoholic wife beater. That basically he's a bit like Nick Cage's character in Leaving Las Vegas, but he hits women.
No,
even though he doesn't drink.
But he didn't hit the woman.
I know he didn't. But like,
that's what she's trying to fucking convey him.
Trying to do.
What he is he's a hard-working banker who loves his baby and will do anything for his princess or whatever the fuck he says.
But like you never see Johnny actually leave the apartment at any point and say, I've got to go to work now. He's just in the room.
No, he's always coming back, but it's just so funny, even talking about the promotion. Like, some of the dialogue, like when he comes home and he tells her he didn't get the promotion, she's ordering a pizza. You see 30 seconds of her just ordering a pizza on the phone.
Yeah.
And then he walks in, says, I didn't get the promotion. And she goes, I think you need a pizza.
Yeah.
He says, I don't want a pizza. And she goes, I already ordered you a pizza.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, Lisa, you always know what to do.
Yeah. And then
what is this exchange?
And then he goes into it. Lisa goes, but why, Johnny? Why didn't they give you the promotion? I thought you had good ideas. And he goes, they've already implemented them. It was like, they're taking me for a ride, Lisa.
Oh, God. And then from then, she's just like fucking scorched wood. She just has no interest in Johnny. She's all about Mark. And she just starts fucking Mark. And she seduces him like he's a fucking complete moron.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like, invites him around all sexily on the phone. And he's kind of like, huh? What are you saying? I don't understand. And then he's in the house and she's basically getting naked and saying she wants to fuck. And he's going like, what are you saying? Why are you saying this to me?
Yeah.
Don't talk like that. And then he starts having keeps meeting up with Johnny and like having these pointless conversations where he's kind of hinting that Lisa might be cheating. And that's when we get introduced to the psychologist friend.
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, he's friends with a psychologist.
Yeah, never been mentioned. This is halfway through the movie. It just comes out of nowhere.
No, this is towards the end. And all of a sudden, like, the psychologist is like his best man.
But he's always a psychologist. So he's not really a real person. He's always like asking you psychologist on the chair sort of questions.
And then Johnny's like, you always play the psychologist with me. Like, just
what's his name? Gavin, isn't it?
Yeah, Gavin. But one of my favourite lines in the film is like, for some reason, who's Mark and fucking, what's her name? Lisa. They're like, and no one has like a lock on the door. This apartment, they just stride
runs in
whenever they want. Like, basically, like, all of a sudden, Lisa's friend just pops in while they're about to fuck, and then like Mark's fumbling around to put his t-shirt on, and she stumbles over. What are you two like? CYZ, and then Mark's like, sorry? Check your zipper, and his zipper's like undone, and it's like, what a travesty.
Yeah, like at points it was the dialogue and the directing was like in a porno. You know when like they finish it off and they're like, oh, I have to leave now. I'm still the plumber again.
But imagine obviously, I think in real life, the guy that plays Denny was his Mark's best friend, and that's why they moved into the apartment. That's what I got from the disaster artist. But like in the film, like when he shows him the script, like Denny's just there, like, oh, this is really good. Like, just looking at it like this is the most dog shit. But obviously, they've had no breaks in like Hollywood, so they're like, obviously, Declan, if you moved out to like LA, and then like this weirdo, but at the time, which is kind of weird about this is, no one knows how old.
Not how old he is, yeah.
Johnny is, but
Johnny, Tom.
But yeah, Tommy Wiseau, but the Denny, I don't know is the actor's name, is only 19 when he moves out there. So there's kind of like this whole weird like paedophilic element to it that no one's really.
It's just strange, man. And but going back to the movie, what was the scene we were just on?
Oh, check your zipper.
Yeah, check your zipper. Yeah, like and it starts building up to the party. So Lisa again, she's wants to destroy him, but she's also organising a birthday party, and her and Mark are sort of fucking at this point.
Yeah.
And Mark's just doing him dirty.
Yeah.
And Mark turns into a cunt, but I guess it's supposed to be him getting caught up in like the fucking affair that they're having or something. And it gets to the party and everyone's dancing around, and I love it. So Lisa, she's getting off on like the thrill of getting away with the affair at this point. So Johnny's having his party, they're all dancing around, like the room is filled up with people. And Lisa wants to like slyly go off and fuck Mark.
Yeah, they go.
So her big way of tricking everyone is, hey everyone in the party, let's go out and get some fresh air.
Yeah.
So every single person in the party, except for them two, just immediately like walk out the front door. And don't come back, and she starts fucking Mark on the couch. And then what happens? Does someone come back in?
Yeah, someone.
Oh, that guy kept remember the guy with the weird toupee.
Yeah.
And he walks up to him and he's like, "This will splinter our friendship. What are you doing, guys?"
There's also another key scene to tie into the amazing thread plot of this film, when the psychologist geezer goes up to the roof and like Mark's. No, sorry, not Mark. No, it is Mark. Sorry, who's fucking Lisa.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's a confusing film.
Yeah, it's very confusing. He's just, for some reason, I'm the jock and I'm a cool guy smoking a spliff. So he goes to the psychologist, do you wanna smoke some of this? And he's like, no, I don't do that. Then all of a sudden, the psychologist goes to him, I know that you're having an affair with Lisa, and then he grabs him and pushes him over the roof.
This was one of my scenes. Like, I made a note of this scene because I was like, I nearly forgot it there. Yeah. That was one of the funniest ones, because again, it's just the tone of the cat and the shift in tone are so abrupt and strange, where they're just having a normal conversation, and then he's literally like, it's not like they have a little scuffle. He pushes his psychologist friend halfway over the fucking barrier, where he's just going to fall off the top of a building. And he holds him there for about 20 seconds. And the guy's screaming, let me go. And then he lets him back. And then he starts saying to him, oh, are you sure you're okay?
Yeah.
After just trying to kill him a second ago.
Yeah.
Then they just go back to having a normal conversation.
He just apologises. And then like says sorry, and they like make it out. But all of a sudden then Mark starts just chucking chairs after they've apologised.
Yeah, but then he doesn't respond to that even. He just continues on. That psychologist character actually was my favourite actor in terms of, like, he was the only person who responded to things the way a human would. See, a lot of the time he was just like, what are you talking about?
I mean, this sounds like so far-fetched in like what you're saying and stuff like this, but the only example that I could really use, and this is a real life example, by the way, that this shit does happen. Do you remember when I used to work in that film studios in London for the scandalous Michael Redwoods? And then what he would do... He was such a little Ian Bill, wasn't he? He was such a little Ian Bill. He'd make his money from doing show reels for like aspiring actors.
Right.
Like, a bit like desperate like these people. And then one of his favourite ones was to have...
so harsh,
to have a film set mocked up of, do you know that scene in Shawshank Redemption where Morgan Freeman goes in and like I can't remember.
Oh, so, okay, I get what you're saying. So it's like a setting a location for them to do a show.
Yeah, like, you know, he goes into the parole...
Act out a scene, like they have the Julius Caesar backdrop.
Yeah, he goes into, like, the parole board, and he's like, I don't give a shit anymore, like, and then they finally give him parole and stuff like that. And I'm watching it, and, like, scandalous Mr. Redwood's like saying, this is amazing, and like stuff like that, and like it's all fancy equipment, and I'm just thinking, this is so bad, like, literally. And he's just fleecing them for money, and obviously he went on to make that weird Catherine of Aragon film.
Well, he kind of made a trailer, like you know when people make 10 minutes of a movie.
Yeah.
Fair play, he was hustling, he was trying to make it happen. But he just sounded like such a little scumbag. Wasn't he always like, he was using you as like free work?
Yeah, and then like, I would like...
When you were 16?
I'd be at home and like, there was one time where I was like, oh, do you want me to bring my laptop? Because I had all the edit and stuff. He was like, no, you use our computers. I got all the way down there. He's like, I told you to bring the laptop. So I had to go all the way home and get it. And he'd always like be late with like the pay, and it would always be cash in hand.
How much was he even paying you?
Oh, to be honest, like, for one, like, little shitty editing kind of, like, showreel, which was, like, 2 minutes, his other favourite scene was fucking... Do you know that stupid scene from Swordfish where it's John Travolta and Halle Berry?
Oh, my God, that's a terrible movie.
Terrible.
Well, just a weird movie to put.
But to explain my point in, like, just all in general, there was this one guy called Duncan who had a really, like, successful business, and he dropped everything and sold it to like go around with Michael Redwood.
What?
And I'm like, are you an idiot? Like,
does he have like a cult leader sort of fucking...
Yeah, like kind of like Charles Manson kind of thing. But it kind of like brought me vibes to this. Like, if someone thinks that they can do something well enough and is crazy enough to do it, it's crazy that it might just work. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's Tommy Wiseau's like appeal. Like,
yeah.
But the thing is, you got to remember that he couldn't get any roles. So it's just like, what about if I fund my own film?
Yeah, he tried to do the Matt Damon Ben Affleck kind of thing with the old fucking movie. It's just so strange, man. The party scene's one of my favourite scenes because this is when. Because when you're watching it, part of the appeal is it's nearly hypnotic because it's constantly just weird and bizarre, and you never really know what's going on or the beats of the story. And it's most like that during the party scene because it nearly becomes like a bizarre dream sequence. Is sort of the tone I felt from it. Because I feel like they shot the same scene twice and then edited them both together. Because there's this weird moment where Mark and Lisa just start openly dancing and getting close in front of Johnny. Johnny obviously naturally gets upset. He goes over to break it up.
Oh, yeah.
And then him and Mark start fighting and they push each other. They're knocking each other over. People break it up. And then Mark runs out. And then it kind of fades back to the party going back to normal.
Yeah, you're
and
right. They start
Lisa and Mark are hanging out again. Not dancing this time, just somewhere else. And Johnny again comes over. Again gets in a fight with him.
Yeah.
And it's like they had the fight. It was like they hadn't had the fight before.
I totally get you.
Do you know what I mean? It's so bizarre when you're watching it.
It was that same ferocity as the first fight.
Yeah.
It was like there was no difference to it.
But the temperament they started the conversation with, it was like they hadn't just had a fight 5 minutes ago.
And before that second fight sequence, he
he says a bunch of shit.
No, Johnny like puts out his hands and then like Mark shakes it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like a minute later, they start going at it again. And you're like, fuck.
But I'm sure, which time, did the first fight or after the second fight, does Mark start taunting him, saying, "Oh, you couldn't keep your woman satisfied. That's why she came to me." Is that the first fight?
I think that's actually the first one.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. They go from that to like just being chill at the party.
And I think in the second one, like Tommy it goes away, and then he comes back and he's like, "Why don't you get your own woman, Mark?" And then they start fighting again. Like, do you know?
So then the party breaks up, and the party breaks up, and everyone goes home. Johnny's devastated, and we basically have a 50-minute sequence of him crying to the sky, saying, "Damn you, Lord, why have you done this?" He goes up, he slowly goes up, crying to the sky, he gets into his bedroom and he's screaming about Lisa and ripping his shirt, and he gets a gun and he shoots himself. And then literally on the spot, as soon as he kills himself, Lisa... Actually, no, it fades, doesn't it? So it's a few hours later, and Lisa and Mark come back and find his body.
Symbolically, at the start of the film starts with him coming into the room and basically saying to Lisa, "I've got a surprise for you, Lisa." She's like, what is it? And then she opens it and it's like a red dress, and then that's when...
The kind of red dress you wear before you get fucked.
That's when they go before little shitface.
We didn't even talk about the sex scenes.
Yeah, when little shitface comes
Denny.
Ruins their fucking. She's got the dress on, and then when he goes to kill himself at the end, he's got a red dress.
Oh, is that what he's got?
Yeah, which is just on the floor, literally just on the floor, entangled in loads of duvet covers, and he's like, "Why?" Just wrapping
You're
it
tearing
around
me apart, Lisa.
Yeah.
That's a famous line.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then he just shoots himself, and then...
And doesn't he shoots himself sort of he doesn't do it the classic way where, your thumb's pointing down.
He puts it in his mouth, doesn't he?
Oh, does he put it in his mouth? I thought he just sort of put it to his forehead.
I don't know what he does. But then who discovers his body?
Lisa and Mark. And then...
But then Denny comes
in.
Like, "Get out!"
Again, why is he here? And he just screams and cries. And it just ends like that, isn't it?
There's no what happened to Lisa. Well, I suppose it's suicide, so nothing happens to them. But they haven't really committed a crime. They're just having an affair, in a way.
Well, they fucking completely fucked him over.
Yeah. And then it just ends like that, and it's just like, right, what's going on here?
But you love to think, what did he think? Say if you make, I don't know, you want people to be entertained and it's like an action movie but also be a little scared. The feeling you're going for. What did he think? What was he going for, do you reckon? What was he hoping the critics would be saying about it? Well, was it a drama? I guess it was a romantic drama.
Firstly, to answer that, I would kind of want to look into... Because, he's a first-time filmmaker, and it's the only film he's ever made. A bit now a cult classic, do you know what I mean? He hasn't made another one, no need to. But what was his kind of inspiration for this film? Could you... He
wrote it as a book first.
Could you look at because at the end... he kind of commits suicide, kind of like a Romeo and Juliet kind of vibe.
I feel like he was going for this is a tragedy movie. It'll be a movie where people will be clutching their chests in the last closing scenes.
And you know what? This kind of makes sense, and I've generally just thought this because in the film The Disaster Artist, every time that he goes to acting classes, they do a scene and he just reads stuff out, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I'm doing Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare." So obviously Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, so it kind of would make sense.
Yeah, and he's the kind of he would see. I feel like he's in his perception of what his movie career was going to be like. He would be seen as a brooding, very serious artist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But then obviously he changed it at the end because obviously when it was shown in the cinemas, everyone was just bursting out laughing. And then he'd go to shows and he'd be like, "How do you rate my comedy?"
Yeah, well that was how they did a nice... And that's how they ended Disasterized.
Yeah. Well, back to your original question. It's clearly a drama. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's not a comedy.
I feel like it's meant to be taken absolute seriously.
Imagine him. Oh, he must have felt like shit. Sitting in a cinema and he's like, "I made this dramatic masterpiece," and everyone's just bursting out laughing.
But do you think he edited it? Was looking at it. This is what the movie is, and did he not realise then? Did it actually take? Do you reckon till he saw a crowd react to it to realise it was fucking awful?
Yeah.
Really?
I think in this guy's head...
He's deluded.
Number one, I think he is kind of maybe on the autistic spectrum, would explain it as you said. So I think he would have no differentiation between this is a drama or I'm writing a comedy, and to him it was just a proper drama. And then obviously when everyone was laughing, I reckon he's just everyone finds this funny, so I'm gonna say it's a comedy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like
apparently it got all the way to the first sex scene, wasn't it? Before people started cracking up.
Yeah,
openly.
yeah.
And I remember the actress that played Lisa. I think she knew it was probably not going to be great, but had no idea how terrible it was going to be, and she was mortified about how much on-screen nudity she had in just like the first half an hour, because there's two really long, virtually identical sex scenes in the first like 30 minutes, and the first one is pretty much like the credits roll, couple of lines of dialogue, and then they're fucking for like 10 minutes.
Did they take that out of the YouTube version?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, I was wondering where that was. Not that I watched it just because of that.
You want to see Tommy Wiseau fucking a fucking belly button?
Yeah. Like, I asked you a question. Did they actually fuck like properly?
No, of course, man. That would be fucking. Right. That's definitely illegal.
You never know. He's an interesting character, man.
They use like cups and fake genitals. He might
have had it contracted. He's Tommy Wiseau, isn't it?
She apparently she went to the premiere with her mum.
Oh,
and her mum was just like... Her mum apparently was super supportive, but who the fuck wants to sit next to her mum?
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're in like Schindler's List and you have a sex scene.
Yeah.
And you're with your mum, but fucking when you're in that pile of shit... I mean, a porno... It was one step above being in a porno, being in this movie.
Yeah, really, yeah. But no, I don't think he thought... He thought in his head, this is a proper stone cold classic drama piece, is my opinion. What's yours?
So what's your favourite moments, favourite scenes?
I think, me personally, it's the I just can't get past the flower shop. The flower shop is I just find it so fucking funny. Like, and
also when you think about it, complete filler.
I know,
why are we seeing this?
Of it. I mean, I suppose he does go in and does he give the roses to her? Does he give the roses after he goes in and says he hasn't got a promotion?
I think it's before.
It's before, yeah. It's just pointless.
But even then, it's like you don't need. If he has a briefcase, if he walks in and sees Lisa with a briefcase, and it's full of gold, and then he starts talking about the briefcase full of gold, you would need to see the scene before that for context of why he has the briefcase. If he walked in with flowers, you just be like, oh, he's brought her flowers from a flower shop. Like, you don't need to see that fucking scene. What else do you love?
It's got to be the classic. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, oh, hi, Mark.
Then the way the funny thing about that is the way that he goes in, and then he just like he sees him sitting there on the roof. Just goes, oh, hi, Mark. And then for some reason, he's got a bottle of empty water that he goes all the way up to the roof with. All of a sudden, it changes from that to, I did not beat her, man. It's bullshit, and just chucks it on the floor. Like, it's just like the tonal shift. Like, out of all the things you could have bought to like throw to show that you're pissed off, you bring an empty bottle of water.
That is the worst. Have you ever tried to dramatically run out of the room?
Yeah.
And you slam the door, but it's one of those doors that it like slows before the end, and it just like gradually closes.
Yeah.
For me, it's just the lines of dialogue. You got I already ordered pizza.
Oh yeah.
What kind of money?
What kind of money?
What else? When the mother just casually proclaims, "Oh no, I've got the results. I definitely have breast cancer."
Yeah. From are you having an affair to? And on that note, I'm dying.
The computer business is too competitive.
Yeah.
It's just the things people say in this movie are too fucking funny. The psychologist getting hung over the roof all of a sudden for no apparent reason.
It's like fucking Mark becomes like...
So what was Mark... That makes me think, like, was Mark supposed to be like he was a man on the edge who was about to snap?
Mate, Mark turned into prime fucking Christopher Nolan Batman.
Yeah, he's a deluded, isn't he?
Where is she? It's just like a random shit. Like, all of a sudden he's having a crisis, and then we introduce his best friend, who's also happens to be a psychologist, so it's perfect for what he's going.
And he's just always he's always analysing everyone and asking them probing questions.
Yeah.
The when they're trying on the tuxedos for the wedding, and they go and play with the American football in the park.
Over, yeah. It's
the kind of movie where I got to be honest, watching it on my own, because it's the first time I've watched it on my own. It's not anywhere near as enjoyable.
Yeah, to be honest,
it's an event movie that you should watch with people. I would definitely love maybe in a year's time after I've forgotten a bunch of it, I'd love to like go actually see it in the cinema. A bunch of people that are just there to crack up at it.
Do that. I mean, I said to you yesterday because I always try and watch the films like the day before we do the podcast, just so it's fresh in my memory. Because I had a day off work, I kept messaging you like, I can't fucking watch this. Like it's like myself, like it's so like
it's one of those things where like if you listen, or if you try and read in the car, at some point you've got to stop because your brain actually starts hurting a bit. It's disorientating. I
mean, I was laughing, like...
Oh no, it's brilliant, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this, like, definitely watch this movie.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic, but it's just a disturbing... It could only have been put together by an alien.
Yeah.
Or Rain Man.
I mean, I've got to do a comparison, because I assume that... Well, I don't assume anything, but I assume a lot of people that would be listening to this may not have seen it. Might have seen The Disaster Artist, but if you haven't seen The Room, there's kind of really no context to it, but you might have seen it as a standalone film. Like, what film could you even compare this to?
Do you know what, the only thing why you were saying that, here's what in terms of like watching it and experiencing it, this is the best analogy I could give you. You know when your iPhone does that thing in your photos and videos where it will just say, this day in March.
Oh, yeah.
And it will put together whatever videos and photos or whatever you're receiving on WhatsApp that day. And sometimes it will work out, where sometimes it will be like, it finds all the photos from your niece's christening, and it has them all laid out throughout the day, and a little video of her at the end, and it works. And then other times you have spliced together a picture of your girlfriend, and then a video from your friend's stag do that he sent to you, where someone's got dildos glued to their hands, and then a voice note of your dad saying something to you, and a photo of your fucking nephew or something, and it all splices together, and it doesn't go together, and it doesn't make any sense, and it's incoherent, and it's just trippy to watch. And that's what this movie feels like. It's just, I can't imagine the kind of mess it was when they just got all the footage and tried to edit it together.
But I'm trying to think, there must be like another film that is just so shit that it's got cult like status.
It's hard because there definitely is out there, but you just haven't seen them. Because they're forgotten and they never got a release because they were this shit. It's pure luck.
Like bootleg.
It's only by the luck of what a bizarre personality Tommy Wiseau is and what bottomless pockets he had in order to keep trying to promote the movie that it survived from obscurity at all.
Yeah, and I reckon it was like passed around in video, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
And it became such a cult.
Or maybe, it was 2003, and it was probably 2005 by the time it got big, so it was probably just on the internet as well.
Yeah. I honestly, like, this is only one of the films in the world that I cannot make a genuine comparison with.
Yeah.
It's such a unique film, like, literally.
It is a hypnotically, disturbingly terrible masterpiece.
Yeah, that sums it up.
From the minds of a deluded madman.
A deluded kind of Van Helsing character.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know, to sum it up, it's just like, I can't sum it up better than...
The least trust with your kids man in the world.
Yeah, I can't sum it up more than basically, this film is so bad that it's good.
That is
do you know what I mean? That sums it up, like.
Yeah, I won't be for a while.
No, I think it's one that you have to. I would definitely watch it in the cinema though.
Yeah, I'd watch it with a big crowd for sure.
Yeah. And I'd definitely take people that have never seen or heard of it and be like, right, I'm not going to explain anything to you about this film, but please come to the cinema with me to watch it. I won't say anything about it, but just to see their reactions.
Yeah, Joe, that wouldn't work if you did it to them in your house, but in the cinema with everyone going along with it, that could definitely work.
Yeah, because people would be turning around like, what the fuck is this? Like, do you know what I mean?
So do you recommend The Room?
In terms of like a well-made film and stuff like that, no. But in terms of a film as an experience, yes, I do. You must watch this film.
In every possible sense of the word, I recommend this movie. It is fantastic. Oh, bye, Mark.
I'll buy, Mark. I did not hit her.
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.